Hi, this is Selene with Swanky Mountain, and I am here today to talk about brioche. I am starting with a provisional cast on for this particular project. So I have crochet chained roughly 36 stitches on here. And if I look at this crochet chain, I've got a V on this side and a bump on the back side. Now, if you need a video on how to crochet a chain, then stop in the store or let me know and I will send you one, but I don't have a quick one. But anyhow, so crochet chain. We're going to start and pick up 17 of these little bumps on the back here. But so I'm gonna give myself like 2 here on the end, and I'm gonna pick up every other bump. So this first one, I'm gonna skip this one and do this one, skip this one and do this one. And I'm gonna do, like I said, 17 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. And that's going to take me right to the edge of my chain. You can start from either end of your chain. I prefer to start from this end. Not the end that I started on, but the other one. Okay. I am going to now flip this around and begin my setup row. I have 2 colors of yarn here. This blue is going to be my main color, and the variegated is going to be my coordinating color. I'm going to start with my main color, and I'm going to knit into these 17 stitches I have. I'm going to knit 1, and then I'm going to yarn over. Knit 1 and yarn over, knit 1 and yarn over. Now if I were to, right now I'm continental knitting. I'm going to show you one more time. Knit 1 and yarn over. If I were to throw or knit, some people call it English, I'm going to knit 1, knit 1 and yarn over, front to back. Knit 1, yarn over, front to back. Knit 1, front to back. Sorry that my thumb was in the way. Front to back. Knit 1, front to back. So the key here is that we yarn over every time. Now I'm going to Norwegian knit, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, knit 1, oops, I just used some scrap yarn. It is not great yarn, so you can see it splitting on me. Yarn over, knit 1, yarn over, And I've worked all the way down, almost to the end here. And I'm on my very last stitch. So I knit one, yarn over. I'm going to knit this last stitch. And then I'm going to grab all of my stitches, grab the end of my circular needle and slide them all down to the other end. So my beginning is to the right and my working yarn and the ball is on my left. Now I'm going to add in my second color. My coordinating color, I need a fairly long tail for this project. So I have wrapped up roughly 20 inches of yarn here. To do this, I just took 2 fingers and wrapped around. And then I took my end, wrapped it around twice, lifted up a little section and pulled my tail through, making just a little kind of slip knot there. Not a very tight one, but just a little pocket of yarn there. So I can pull on my tail and it will unravel. So with my coordinating color now, same order that I did before, I'm going to start with Continental, move through throwing, and then Norwegian. I'm going to slide my first stitch purlwise. So instead of going front to back, which would be knitwise, I go right to left and slide this purlwise. Then I'm going to bring my coordinating color to the front and purl. And leaving the yarn in the front, I'm going to slide this stitch purlwise while making a yarn over. Let me show you again. And then I bring the yarn back to the front. So I am purling. And then as I slide this stitch purlwise, the yarn comes up and over. To make a yarn over, I bring it back to the front of my work and purl this stitch. Slide with my yarn in front, purlwise, purl this stitch, slide this purlwise, bring the yarn back to the front, and purl this stitch. Now if I was throwing, I would, oops, I didn't bring my yarn to the front. So yarn in the front, slip this one purlwise, yarn over, bringing the yarn to the front, and then purl this stitch. My yarn is in the front, closest to me. Looks like I might need to raise this up just a bit. So the yarn is closest to me. I'm slipping this right to left and then bringing my yarn up and around to yarn over. And then I'm purling the next stitch on the needle. Right to left, sliding it, purling or yarning over, up and around, purl, again, up and around. This stitch slides off. So my previous row's knit stitches become slipped with the, oops, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry. The previous row's knit stitches are being slipped with a yarn over, and the yarn overs from the previous row are being purled across. One more time, with the yarn in front, closest to me. Slipping purlwise, yarn over, purl, and now Norwegian. Slipping, so in this case, my yarn is Norwegian knitting, your yarn is always in the back. So I'm going across my finger to pick up the slip and the yarn to create my yarn over. And then I Norwegian purl this stitch. Slipping with the yarn over, purling, slipping with the yarn over, purling, slipping with the yarn over, purling, slipping with the yarn over, now you can always rewind and just watch your preferred type of knitting section. Now, no matter how you're knitting it, once you get to your last stitch, you're going to bring your coordinating color to the front of your work and slip the last color. All right, so now we have working yarn for both colors to our left, and we're going to turn our work. Most brioche patterns are going to give you, well, they're going to count their rows one of two ways. They're going to count them as 2 passes, so you'll have like row 1A, row 1B, row 2A, row 2B, or they'll count them row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4. Either way, you're going to work your right side of your fabric twice and your wrong side of your fabric twice, once in each color. I like to call this a pass. I'm going to do one pass across my work with my main color, then I'm going to slide my stitches back down my needles and work a second pass in my coordinating color. So we start with our main color. I'm going to slide my coordinating color over, and I'm going to knit my first stitch. Then I'm going to slide and purl, or slide and yarn over my next stitch, and then I'm going to purl or burp these two pieces together. So the yarn over from the previous row and the stitch that I slipped. I'm going to purl them together. So I slide and yarn over and purl 2 together. Slide and yarn over, purl 2 together. Slide and yarn over, purl 2 together. And you'll see I'm giving my knitting a little pull to allow my stitches to rest and my yarn to rest in the order that I want it in. So in this case, since I'm working my main color, I want my coordinating color to rest below my main color. So my main color is on top and my coordinating color is below. Now, if I were to throw, I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. If I were to throw, my yarn comes to the front, I slip, yarn over, purl, or burp, brioche purl, slip this stitch, yarn over, burp, those 2 stitches together, slip, yarn, oops, slip, yarn over, purl, burp, slip, yarn over, purl, like so. One more time, we slip, yarn over, burp, brioche purl, those stitches together. And Norwegian, again, with Norwegian knitting, your yarn is always in the back. So we need to grab both the working yarn and the stitch we're going to slip to create that yarn over, and then we purl, slip, purl, slip, purl, slip, purl, slip, purl, slip, and then this final stitch we knit. Now we have our tails and our working yarn on the same side, but our coordinating color is still here. So this means that we need to grab our knitting and slide it to the other end of our needles, so we can do our second pass. We just worked 1 pass in our main color, and now we work our second pass in our coordinating color. I'm going to take my first stitch and slip it purlwise, grab my yarn. Got kind of a mess back here. Now, this time I'm going to Burke, which is a brioche knit. I knit, and then I bring the yarn to the front so I can slip and yarn over. Leaving the yarn in the back, I'm going to Burke, brioche knit, slip with the yarn over, brioche knit, slip and yarn over. Now here my yarn over is in front of my other stitch. So when I work this stitch, I need the yarn to rotate so my coordinating color comes to the front and my main color travels to the back. Slip, yarn over, Burke, slip, yarn over. Again, my yarn has ended up flipped, so I can flip it before I begin by just sliding that yarn over, or I can give it a little tug and it will help it as well. Now if I were to throw, I would slip knitwise. Oops, I forgot to bring my yarn to the front. Make sure your yarn is in the front if you're throwing. Slip knitwise, yarn over. Now I'm going to leave my yarn in the back because now I'm going to knit this stitch. Bring my yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit, hi, bring my yarn to the front, slip, yarn over, or yarn to the back, knit, yarn to the front, slip, yarn over, yarn to the back, knit. making sure that that coordinating color, so see how my main color is kind of coming to the front here? Just want to let that just kind of maneuver the yarn, pull it down some so it goes to the back. One more time, bringing the yarn to the front, slip, yarn to the back, knit, and Norwegian, slip, knit, slip, knit. So when I'm slipping, I'm still creating that yarn over. Slip, knit, slip, knit, slip, knit, bring my yarn to the front and slip this last stitch, and I'm ready to turn. So that is the basic pattern that you're going to repeat. So now I'm going to do one row at a time in each different style of knitting. So you can fast forward or rewind to the section that you prefer, your preferred style of knitting. But I am going to cover a few tips and tricks along the way. So just trying to get my yarn sorted out here. So let's say I put this down and came back to it today. How would I know if I should burp or birk on this round? I know since I finished with both of my yarns to the right, I know that this is a first pass. So I'm going to start with my main color and knit my outside stitch here. Then I can look here, I see that this is a yarn over with a slipped stitch and this stitch is sitting by itself. So this stitch doesn't have a yarn over, or as one of my fellow knitters has said, a shawl to go over its back. So this one needs a shawl. So I'm going to slip and yarn over. Then my next stitch, I can look at the stitch below to see that this needs to be a birk. I can see my knit stitch here with the V. Bring that a little closer, knit stitch with the V. So I'm going to birk this stitch. Slip one and yarn over, knit or birk this stitch. Slip one yarn over, birk, and I'm going to work all the way down here. So my yarn's coming to the front here. Just gonna wiggle it around to tell it to go to the back where it belongs. I'm to my last stitch and I knit. Now my kid had to go potty. I set this down, I pick it up and I come back to it. I see that my main color is on the left, but my coordinating color is on the opposite end. It's on the end with my two tails. They're not on the same side, which means that I need to grab these stitches, slide my needle down to the other side. Take my coordinating color, begin my second pass. This time I will slip my first stitch since I see that I'm on my coordinating color, bring my yarn to the front, and we'll throw this row. So I can see this stitch has its yarn over, has its shawl, so I need to work this. So with my yarn to the front, I can see, because I have a bump here, that this is a purl row. So I'm going to purl this stitch, oops, purl this stitch, and then this one is lonely, it does not have a shawl, so I'm going to slip and yarn over. This stitch has its shawl, so I will purl it, and you can see as you kind of get the flow of this, your yarn is going to twist a little bit on its own, which is great because that means that your colors will be in the correct order. And then you'll have on one side predominantly your one color, and then on the other, you'll have the other color, creating that really nice thick ribbing. Oops, that's totally wrong. Slip, yarn over, purl, creating that beautiful ribbing that brioche is known for, that nice thick fabric. Slip, and these are burps because we are brioche purling and slipping with the yarn over. To my last stitch, I make sure that my yarn is in front of my work and I slip that stitch. Now, both yarns working ends are to my left, so I can turn my work. And I can begin to see my brioche pattern taking shape. So we turn, and we start with our main color. This time I'm Norwegian knitting. Knit, slip with the yarn over, and again I can see that this stitch with the yarn over has a bump, so I'm going to burp here, slip with the yarn over. And since this was my last stitch, I knit and I slide my work down. And since Continental and Norwegian are fairly close, I'm going to throw this next round so you can see the birking with throwing. And I know that I'm going to birk this round because my knit stitches here are of the coordinating color on this side. So slip one, and I'm going to birk. And bring my yarn to the front, slip, yarn over, oops, hold my yarn in the back, birk, bring my yarn to the front, slip, take it to the back so I can knit, bring it to the front, slip, take it to the back, to birk, bring it to the front, slip, take it to the back, to birk, bring it to the front, and then birk, creating that yarn over, bring it to the front, birk, bring it to the front, birk, bring it to the front. I have to say it out loud because this is obviously not my natural knitting flow or my first choice. Now, just for educational purposes here, I'm going to forget to bring my yarn to the front. I'm gonna leave it in the back and I'm gonna slip this stitch. And then I'm gonna knit this one, birk that one, since it's a brioche knit, and slip this last stitch. So if I look at my knitting, I'm ready to turn my work. So I turn my work, take my main color to the back, and I begin knitting, and I slip this one, and I can see that there's a problem. My coordinating color is sitting over the top of my knitting where it should have yarned over like this one here. In this case, I'm going to slide this stitch from the right to the left, or from the left to the right. I'm going to pick up what should have been the yarn over and place both stitches back onto the left needle. Let me show you that again. I'm going to slide purlwise my stitch from the left to the right needle. I'm going to come down, pick up what should have been the yarn over, and slide both stitches back on to my left needle. and then I'm in a position to burk that stitch and work my way across. So let's take a moment and talk about counting our stitches. Taking a moment and checking in and counting your stitches can be a great way to make sure that you're on track with your knitting. But how do you count brioche stitches? Really, you're going to count them in sets. So this first stitch is a single, but then I'm going to count this section here as a set, 1. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 sets, plus the one spare from here at the beginning. So if you want your brioche to have an edging like this does, you're always going to be working with an odd number of stitches. Otherwise, you can count them individually, but you need to keep in mind that your initial cast on, in our case of 17, has in essence doubled when we created that second row with our coordinating color. So, yep, we're gonna slide it down. And this is the repeat that you're just gonna keep doing for your whole, in this case, cowl, for the whole length of your cowl, however long you want it to be. And you can always, you know, slide it off your needle, or not slide it off your needles, but wrap it around your neck and make sure it feels good. It's like something's tangled and that's gonna drive me nuts. Yep, see, still tangled. So that should give you the basic idea. You can always rewind or fast forward to the section of the video that was the most helpful to you. But there you have your basic brioche stitches in both knit and purl. So your burps and your burks, BRP for brioche. Let's see, I'm not sure what the R stands for, unless that's part of brioche. Brioche purl and brioche knit. So thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful for the 3 different styles of knitting and the brioche stitches. Please feel free to comment with any questions that you might have. Any feedback is always helpful as I continue to evolve and make more videos to help you on your knitting journey. Boom. I'll pull that stitch a little tighter because it's a little loose. have it. This is going to be perfect for my wardrobe. So happy knitting. Always feel free to reach out with any questions that you might have. And in a few weeks, we'll cover what to do when you're all finished with your length and you're ready to seam your two ends together.